Clearly, if I give you two separate functions and I ask you to find their composite function, I can also give you a composite function and ask you to split it into the two separate functions. The composite function that I've been given is the function f of g of x, and I'm telling you that that is given to me by the square root of 2x minus 1. Now, when you split a function, you've got to find two ways that this function could have been made up. If I had had a function and I had done a substitution for an expression into that function, I could have got the following. Can you see that g of x could have been the expression of 2x minus 1? So therefore, if g of x is equal to 2x minus 1, then f of x would have been the square root of x. But please note that this is only one option that I could have had, because what if I had told you in this case that g of x had been 2x? I could then have had two different functions that would have made up this composite function. If g of x had been 2x, then your f of x would have been equal to the root of x minus 1. So you can see that when I give you a composite function and I ask you to split it up into smaller functions, that there is not necessarily only one solution. I've so far shown you how to find composite functions using two functions, but clearly a composite function can be found using any number of functions. Let's try this with three functions. What I'm going to do is I'm going to highlight slowly how we're going to substitute everything eventually into the function of f of x. The first function that I'm going to look at is h of x. And so if h of x is going to be the root of x, my first step must be to say, well, the answer is then going to be f of g, and h of x is going to be the root of x. Now what I need to do is I need to find g of x. And in the place of x on g of x, I'm going to replace it with the root of x. So the root of x must go over here. In other words, I'm now going to have f, and g of the root of x is going to be 1 over the root of x. I'm almost there. Finally, what I need to do is on my f graph, in the place of x, I replace it with what I found for g of h of x, which is going to be 1 over the root of x. So finally, my f of g of h of x graph, once I've completed all my substitutions, is going to be 1 over the root of x plus 2.